Yeah, first of all, I love your shirt. Big fan myself. But yeah, I think I actually spoke to him yesterday. I think he made his test debut here for Zim against New Zealand, if I'm right. So yeah, he's a great person to have in our squad, particularly when you're playing Zimbabwe and in Zimbabwe. He's got a lot of knowledge on the grounds, their players, a couple of players that we might not be as familiar with. He knows from domestic cricket, which is a big difference. And he's a good player as well. Like he played really well in that Test match in Stormont and set us off to a good start with the bat. And yeah, we're just very happy that he's playing for us and not the opposition.
Okay. Anyone else? Spring?
Ireland in Zimbabwe both don't play a lot of tests, and so you guys have another opportunity to play a test match. How important is it for both teams to get a lot of test matches?
Yeah, I think it's always important. I think we're very new to Test match cricket, albeit we played our first one 7 years ago. But Zimbabwe have a rich history of Test cricket. You just have to look at the type of player that has played for Zimbabwe over the years, and you come to grounds like this and you can see and feel the history of the ground. They obviously had a 2-match series just before or during Christmas and New Year's, which we were keeping a close eye on. And I think I can't speak for Zim, but I can obviously speak for us and how much we love playing the game and the challenges that it brings. We don't play a lot of first class cricket, but when we get the opportunity to put the whites on and get out there and play in different parts of the world in Test match cricket, it's a really privileged position that we're in, and we just like the challenge. I think we've got a good kind of rich history of white ball cricket with Zimbabwe over recent years, and hopefully we're kind of starting to build a bit of a rivalry in the Test match arena too.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes.
Right?
Skipper, just looking at this test, you won the first one that you played in Belfast, and now you go one better against Zimbabwe. And coming here, uncharted waters in terms of this format of the game. What approach are you coming with into this particular test?
Yeah, I think we want to build on what we did last year, winning the 2 Test matches that we did. It's kind of nice it kind of feels like a bit of a mini series in an odd sense. The one standalone test in Belfast and now the one standalone test in Bulawayo. So I'd imagine it's pretty similar players on both sides. So it'll be nice to kind of play on, in different conditions. Probably more testing, it's a bit more heat here than there is in Belfast. But yeah, I think we're looking forward to it, and we know it'll be challenging at times. But I think we have the players who experienced a lot over the 2 Test matches last year that it will stand them in good stead come this time round.
Yes, looking at the conditions, where do you think the test match will be won or lost in terms of the conditions?
Yeah, the pitch looks like it'll probably be a pretty good pitch. Obviously, the 2 Test matches that were played here over Christmas were very different in terms of, I think it was the first test was a big run fest, and then the second test was, it spun a bit. So, I think in Test cricket you've got to win the kind of small battles and realise the areas when you're on top, and you've really got to make that count, whether it's with the bat, a couple of us going on and making big scores, or whether it's with the ball creating that pressure and taking wickets. So we know we have to take 20 wickets to win a Test match, so that's always the challenge that is faced for us. Particularly if it's a flat wicket, you've got to find different ways to do it, but I think our bowlers are beginning to get more creative in how they want to take their wickets if the wicket isn't as conducive as we'd like. But yeah, I think looks like it'll be a pretty good cricket wicket, but I'm not sure there's anyone that can really predict a cricket wicket until you actually see the first few balls, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, that's what you like.
Captain, I'd just like to take you back looking at the history of Test cricket in Ireland. You really had a few years in where you played the first Test coming up, but you've been able to perform quite well against sides. Even the first one was England, you won against Afghanistan and even beat Zimbabwe. What has been key, despite you playing a little of it, but being able to make considerable progress in terms of how you guys have played?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we're trying to learn on the job, and we always have in Test cricket, and we've got some young guys who've come in and taken to it really well, which helps. Just kind of shows the character of the player, not just from a skill set point of view, but also like just a mindset. And I think it's not too dissimilar. We don't want to complicate Test cricket. It's not too dissimilar to the skill set you have in 50 over cricket. It's just obviously for a longer period of time. So that's the kind of mindset we try to give the guys. We don't put too much pressure on them when it comes to Test cricket, because it's not a format that we're playing, 6 or 7 or 8 tests a year. So we want to make sure that we're enjoying it, because, like I've said before, there are a lot of Irish cricketers that never got to do this. So when you have these standalone tests, you can really focus on the enjoyment and celebrating each other's success, and hopefully getting a result at the end of it.
Lastly, for me, what's the response like to your Test cricket back home in Ireland when you guys play? How do people take it? Unlike the short form.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of traditional Irish cricket supporters. A lot of the Irish cricket supporters would have been brought up on TMS and Channel 4 cricket in England, which was all Test cricket and whites. And I grew up in the kind of late 90s and early 2000s, and that was the cricket we were fed, unless you can afford Sky Sports and watch the limited over stuff. But I think they like the tradition of it. They like the whites and the kind of slow pace to it. It's still a sport we're trying to sell as players as much as we can, no matter what the format. But I think there is a special place in the heart of Irish cricket fans for Test cricket. And just talking to a couple of people, I think there will be 20 or 30 people from home coming out for this Test match. So I think that kind of shows what it means to those sort of people.